go, baby.
Yeah. I'm trying to get closer to you.
And now we just... Yep, you're pretty close to me.
You're live now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We alive. And now, now you can't see what's happening on the stream because I covered it up with something else. But we're live. And we're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright. So we left off. Where did we leave off? After the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And me role-playing in my sleep.
Yep. Hi guys, I'm Jason again, and that's Avital again.
Alright, I forget.
It's good to
about
see
that.
you all. What are you doing?
I'm pulling up the chat.
Oh.
So I can see it.
Oh.
It's fine. But yeah, we left off. We dropped off a bad wizard dude on the red moon. And I roleplayed almost that entire section of the night while asleep, essentially.
Yes.
Because I don't remember it at all.
But
Zero.
it did happen.
0 bits of it.
This one, however, is quite the opposite. She was awake the whole time. And was
Yeah.
actually quite like, they're like, not necessarily a direct character involved in, like, that's not what I'm trying to say.
It did things.
A lot of things, actually, yeah.
It did
like,
things.
you helped them solve many, many things, and, like, role-playing, and it was good.
It's
At
so-
the very
it's-
end, it was
it's-
very awesome what you did, and I can't wait to get there.
The very, very end?
Yeah, there's a
With
thing you
the...
did. We'll get there.
No, okay, so like the very end, when I gave the to the...
Oh, yeah.
I'm fairly certain that didn't happen then. I'm fairly certain that happened much later.
You sure?
Like, it's in your notes. Did you just add it recently?
I did. I thought that happened
No,
this time.
no, that we came back. Like,
Did you guys not talk about...
when
okay,
we came
we'll
back
get there.
in the Great Dragon Quest.
Oh, you're right. You're totally right.
That's when it happened. I was like, that's not when that happened.
We'll erase that then.
Yeah, anyway, sorry.
It's cool.
I read that and I was like, what? That's not when that happened. But yeah.
And then I'm hoping right about the Alexander thing. I think I am. I think is when he was like...
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was when he was like...
That would make sense.
I'm going to stay here.
Because that's when he met.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yes.
Anyways. So, some of the people... Well, no, there was still a lot of us were doing this. Not like everybody, but who all was...
Yeah.
So it was Rasha and Ragnar.
Mm-hmm.
Treskin, of course. Staniak.
And Alexander.
You mentioned Duwadna, though.
He wasn't
He
actually
shows
able.
up later.
Yeah.
Because the player wasn't able to play a whole lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. Yeah. That's right. So after we go to the moon and almost die, we go back to look for Undermountain, to find the dwarves where they live.
Because just before they went to the moon and all that stuff, they were in Balara.
And they thought they saw something.
Right. And it was for Staniak and Natasha's wedding. No, that was later, actually. That's later. Never mind. It was when those two were just
Spoilers.
starting to get together. And, yeah, they thought they saw something. Ragnar thought he found something, and Treskin marked
Just
it
like a glimmer.
on the map. So they're like, all right, we got that thing done. We're going to go back and figure that out, what the heck that was, because Ragnar really wants to get to the dwarves. And so does Staniak, because, well, Staniak, his family has some history with the dwarves. And Treskin wants to do it because he knows that there's a drow colony down there.
And Treskin is a half drow. This is important to remember.
So, like, Alexander and Rasha basically come along for the ride, for lack of...
That's kind of what happens in a lot of adventuring parties.
Yeah, exactly. The other people were like, yeah, we're going to go with you guys to help you do the thing.
I'm like, oh,
So
well,
they do
okay.
that. So pretty much in this, what we'll do this time is kind of describe the scenario as they went through it. And really a lot of it was ways to figure out how they got around traps and encounters and things like that for a while.
But what we're doing is telling the story, so we can just...
Yeah. It was like, as I read it earlier, a lot of the story is legitimately just...
Right, but I mean, we did this, and we got through this, and that's what...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's much more straightforward.
Yeah.
Than some of the other ones.
Parts of it. But then there was, we don't have any of the actual fun stuff written down, hardly. Because, Thanks, Dad. Thanks for trying. If he can hear me at all. He needs to come home.
Mm-hmm.
So that he has better internet.
I guess.
But yeah.
So it begins with a return to Balara.
And we're on the non-magical airship.
Yes.
Treskin's non-magical airship, the White Prince, which is a very rare thing. A non-magical...
The White Prince. Which is also the flagship for the after-war Erwin Air Corps.
Mm-hmm.
So high in the mountains from the deck of the White Prince, they once again find the doorway that they thought that they spied before. Once it is found...
So, we find a doorway, which we saw first was just a glimmer. And so we get to it, we gotta climb over the rocks and everything. And there's a big door that's kind of in ruins. Very large. And we had to figure out how to fix it so it will open as it was intended. Right? So we had to move a lot of blocks out of the way. And I don't have this skill, but thankfully some people in our party have this skill. Staniek. Of being able to actually repair the door. And it's restored, and the rust and the cracks are, leaving because he's fixing it, because he's really good at that kind of thing. And it's this beautifully carved marble doorway outlined with, is there mithril in Naboria? Mithril, script, and symbology. There's dwarven writing. There's a picture of a great mountain with a serpent in its center, with dwarven runes chiseled and filled with mithril curving over and under the pictogram.
So they had to end up sort of trying to translate the words from Dwarven, which no one knows Dwarven.
Mm-hmm.
So there are two inscriptions, one over the image and one under. The one over the image is Mog Eroth Nin On God, and the one under is Eroth Nin Narho Goroth Az. And they had to figure out the meaning to be able to open the door. Which they were able to figure out the meaning.
Yes. And they mean, bear the heart of earth and enter, and then heart of earth I return thee. Which was, the key to opening the door.
Which, one of you had the key, I believe it was...
It's Ragnar.
Ragnar.
I don't know what the key was.
Well...
And how he had it.
It was a stone that he had.
A stone.
He'd had for a long time.
Oh.
He'd been given it by the dwarves a long time ago.
Oh, he had.
In Neladnire.
Oh, okay.
And it was just on him. And so he feels his armor heating up and has to try to find the source.
He has to find the hot rock.
The hot spot.
In his pocket.
Yep.
But that's the key. And then, so they put the key, the rock, up to the door, speak the phrases in the correct order, which is actually the second one, and then the first one that he read out. And then the door takes the key like a magnet snapping against another magnet and slides open with the sound of grinding stone. And we all go in, and the door slides shut behind us, and there's no way to get out once we're in.
They no longer have a key. They're now trapped inside
the mountain.
Yep.
So, from this point, there is...
I'll just straight up read that, because it's just the description.
Okay.
Yeah. So, from the sealed doorway, the passage opens up into a long tunnel that gradually slopes down with worn carvings along the walls, occasionally. The light quickly disappears in the cavern, so if they don't have dark vision or a torch, they literally can't see where they're going. The slope opens into a small cave. They have to be able to find the path within the darkness, and I believe you guys had, some of you had dark vision. I know Treskin did.
Treskin has dark vision.
I think it was it, because the rest of you were humans.
I'm sure we had lights.
And you guys had torches.
And, well, I am at least good at walking, so.
Yeah. So they follow the path through the cave to an ancient stone stairway. It could easily be mistaken for a natural structure. For 1 week.
We're in this mountain a long time. This is only the start.
It is. They follow the caverns down through the darkness. The tunnel eventually opens to another small cave with another barely discernible stairway. The descent is sharper but no more dangerous. They can hear the sounds of rushing water as they approach the darkened bottom, which that stairway lets out to another cavern. This one's slightly larger. The path leads to a large prominence attached to a stone bridge with no guardrail overlooking a chasm, with a rushing underground waterfall. Again, they must have dark vision or a torch, or they're kind of screwed. The bridge looks like it was finely crafted at one time. It's 200 feet across.
I think just before this, I didn't have dark vision, but I took blind sense. So I had it wasn't like as long as like my normal sight would be, but that was at least something.
I think it's like 30 feet.
Yeah, it was like 30 feet. It's better than nothing.
I think it was from Scout, I think. Or maybe you got a Scout level
I don't remember.
that did something.
It was a level up.
Yeah,
yes.
It was a Scout level that you got that gave you that.
But yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So they have to figure out a way across this bridge, whether it's a balance, fly, or a teleport.
Yes.
They all get across the bridge. The distance safely traveled to another prominence. The opposite side is a tunnel leading down with more ornate carvings, not quite as worn as before, but still not recognizable to them. Walking through the cavern system, the cave ahead, beyond the tunnel they are going down, is divided by a wide, gaping chasm. They can see a passage along the wall on the other side.
And we had to get across the cavern.
So this was a trapped cavern that they had to figure out the way to get across without setting off a stone from above that would drop on them and rubble would crush them.
I should. No,
Successfully, they had done so.
Where are we? We're Eridor. Wait, so we came in here, right?
Yeah, you came in near Balara.
Right, and we kind of were going
slowly, traveling
sort of
down and into the interior of the mountains
to get to Eridor.
Right. Sort of like the back way in, actually.
Yes, exactly.
They literally have taken the back door into Undermountain. So for another week, they continue to travel through carved rock and cave systems down through the mountain. They'll have to climb, swim, and balance their way across precarious ledges. At one point, deep within the cavern, there's a 40-foot maw that has no bridge or rope, and is a seemingly bottomless pit. On each side are 2 posts with a strange, cloudy white crystal that flicker with a faint purplish radiance at the top.
Yes. And, again, Rasha doesn't know what these are, but they are blink stones, which you put your hand on it and it'll take you... You teleport up to 20 feet to an unoccupied space on stable ground within line of sight. And you can use magic device or spellcraft to make it 40 feet. Which meant that if you could hit the spellcraft or the use magic device check, you could teleport across the cavern. Otherwise, you would have to figure out another way. And I think we pretty much were like, well, several of us have nothing magic at all, so it's either we flew or someone carried us. Well, because Z was there too, right? Yeah, so Alexander has... What's his name? The full
Zerodenth.
Zerodenth, his dragon.
It's a rust dragon.
Rust dragon, which, yes. So that was with him as well. So obviously we had help.
So they found ways around this problem as well.
To get across another cavern.
Climbing deeper into the mountain, They descend past open, bottomless caverns. It becomes carved stone again, and less worn. Strange hieroglyphs occasionally line the walls. Eventually, they come to a room 20 foot by 20 foot. There's only one path through the room, the remains of the stone floor running through its center. On either side, they see a pit below them.
And, this is another trap that we have to get past.
Right. They
Which
basically
we did, just fine.
have to walk across the path without tripping the trap and falling to their death. Which, I think in this one, some people did and some people didn't, but you guys made it through.
Yeah, nobody died.
Right. I'm pretty sure you triggered this trap, though.
I didn't.
No, not you specifically, but I'm pretty sure this trap was sprung. But they made it to the other side. The ground cave away. So another instance of there's no going back from here, at least the way that they've come, right?
Yeah.
The door leads out to a stairway down to a corridor heading further into the mountain. After another week's journey.
Another week.
3 weeks. Through these twisting tunnels down, marked by areas of hewn stone and worn dwarven runes, a dull orange glow comes from the deep within the great mountain. Worn and ancient stairs descend into the depths. They spell despair for any who slip off the open chasm to the left of them, with only darkness above. It's also getting warmer as the light grows in their descent. So obviously, they're headed into the center of a mountain where there is some magma or an old volcano or something to that effect. Finally, eventually, they come to a long enclosed hall around the corner from the end of a long set of descending stairs they've just walked down. At its end lies a large iron door. It has no features except a message carved into its face in large, trade common letters, which just say, curse. They have to figure out their way around this challenge, and this was another one of those rooms where if they got it wrong, well, basically a wall at the end was coming towards them, and the wrong letters would shock them. Excuse me.
There's water right there.
Yeah. Don't breathe your own spit, everyone. It's bad. The more you know. So, what they had to do is figure out the correct letter to press to turn it into cure, which then would stop the wall behind them from coming in to slowly crush them to death against the iron door and the stone there, which they did eventually figure out. Once they get past this trap, beyond the riddle's passage, beyond the riddle, the passage travels deep, another week into the journey down, and the path thins to a single file and is highly worn. They have to make balance checks or be able to fly to not fall. And some of them can because it's just a giant open chasm next to them. So like Alexander's on his dragon just kind of going down beside them. Deep into the mountain they descend. Warmth becomes heat and the orange glow becomes bright enough to light the depths so they no longer need torches or dark vision. They look about in this area of the cavern. Intricate carvings and statuary extend into the darkness around the curvature of the interior of the mountainside. The path opens out into a shelf overlooking the lava below, a large flat area with no visible ceiling above, roughly 60 feet wide and 300 feet long.
It's big.
Very big. Before them, at the end of the shelf, is a gargantuan rust dragon, who is aware of their approach.
I mean, yeah.
They don't see a horde, and this dragon sits in front of a large door with strange runes on it. So at this point, many of them had to try to figure out who and what this was, and some of them do. They recognize this as Babaga, the dragon of the forge, one of the first born dragons. And
I think this is the first dragon that Rasha has met, besides Z.
Yeah, it is.
But Z's usually either in like humanoid form or invisible.
Right.
Or both.
Right. So this is Babaga. She's basically the dragon of Undermountain, the dragon of the Resnick Mountains. The reason why there's a place there called the Babaga's Canyon. They figured this out, and they also figure out that the runes are in Dwarven, which none of them can read unless they can cast a spell. Which I think
some of them can.
Stanya
maybe.
could.
Probably. He's magic.
I think Ragnar actually might be able to.
To cast
No,
a
he
spell.
didn't learn Dwarven, though, by this point.
No, not yet.
So Babaga twists her head to the side, extends her neck, and in a booming, gravelly voice, "You who have traversed the ruined path to Undrum Nogak, tell me why you should not die this day."
So I believe at this point, if I remember correctly, because we don't have anything hardly written down.
It's all mostly right here.
That's a couple things.
Yeah.
So I believe Alexander takes point. He talks first because he's with a dragon.
And a rust dragon.
And a rust dragon. So it's sort of like, the big mama rust dragon is like, oh, well, okay. Well, I guess you guys are okay. Also,
He also offers for... Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, you're going to do that. My bad. Yep. Sorry.
Rust dragons eat metal. And Alexander carries around lots of metal because his dragon is a rust dragon. So he gives her some metal. Some good chunks of some nice metal.
Pats him on the head. It's like, "You're fine, next."
So Ragnar, the barbarian, mentions the names of the dwarves that he has met. Garm Stellhand and Gil Silvertongue. And Gurm Halfbeard. And he can come in. I think he probably also had to give her something. I think everyone had to give her
you
some
had to
sort
give
of
her
metal, right?
Yeah, if you don't give her something to eat, you didn't pass.
And Nikolai, which is Staniak, remembered that his family in the ancient past had made a deal with Babaga to aid the family with a single request, and so he was able to use that request to gain entrance, and also he had to give her some metal.
Yeah.
Treskin, I don't remember exactly what he did.
So I do. I do.
Okay.
He had some metal from Graven called ghost metal.
Oh, spicy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And
I remember. Yes, now.
Gave her some spicy metal.
Some spicy metal. She's
She's
like,
like, "You're good."
all right.
And
Was Nanashi there, or were they there?
I don't know that Nanashi was there. Maybe Nanashi was there.
I don't remember.
He might have been.
So, but then
He probably was actually.
So when she gets to Rasha, and I am sitting here, I have absolutely no idea what to do. I'm like, this is an enormous dragon, and I'm kind of sitting there, like, Alexander steps in, takes over, and he's like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "This is my attendant. Just don't worry about her," and gives her some more metal, like some nice like ingot.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I think like an ingot or mithril.
oh yeah, it was nice. It was very nice.
Because he'd come up by some stuff from running his shops and stuff like that.
And I'm just kind of like,
I'm pretty sure Nanashi was there, because I believe Nanashi just threw down a bag of gold. Because,
he's like, "Okay, I have some gold."
pirate, here's some gold. I'm pretty sure that he was there. Carrie, if you see this and I'm wrong, please correct me.
So then we were able to get through. And then Rasha is like, "Thanks, Alexander." And he's like, "Hey, whatever, it's fine." I mean, essentially, that's what he said.
Yeah, pretty much. Alexander's pretty much no nonsense.
And now we get to go through the door.
So the unwelcome wagon. They walk through the ancient and ruined gateway that she was guarding into Herodor. The long cavern is filled with debris. Though a path of some sort has been carved through the debris, it's dangerous to cross. But they're able to do so. Once they get through the tunnel of rubble, they walk out into Herodor, a huge metropolis within the mountain. Large arches accent every entrance and exit. Little of the interior of the mountain cavern is untouched by a craftsman's hand. Stairs lead off in various directions as they look around this marvel of masonry and stone carving. The city is vibrant and busy. As they take in the wonder from the ruined path's exit, they see a small force of 20 stout dwarven warriors in armor marching towards them, with pikes, led by a fearsome-looking dwarf in full plate with a dwarven axe in one hand and another dwarven axe still strapped to his back.
Matt, we are talking about the Chronicles of Naboria, Jason's campaign that he ran for 15 years, but we're talking about my character, Rasha, and the story of what she went through. And right now, we are finding the dwarves.
Yep.
With danger.
Yeah, with danger. Potential danger, anyway. I mean, you know, it's always potentially dangerous. So the dwarves, they march up to the party, surround them, and stop. The 20 armored dwarves train their pikes toward each of the center of them, in the center. The single dwarf with the axe, with a finely kept red beard, speaks aloud. By command of King Stellhand, you are trespassers in our lands and unwelcome. I hereby order these criminals to be taken to the Great Hall for sentencing. The dwarves close the circle once ordered and begin to lead the party to the Great Hall. The party really doesn't stop to mince words, and they really don't plead, because it's kind of like,
well,
that's where you guys wanted
that's
to go
where we
anyway.
wanted to go. We're like, oh, okay.
So it wasn't like a big deal to them. The dwarves are like, who the heck are these outsiders?
That just came in from like Babaga.
From a place where that is not
Babaga's
open
cabin.
for like a centuries, and why are they here? So they're probably all going to end up in the dwarven gulag.
That's what
so the dwarves think.
The dwarves think.
So after the altercation, the party is taken through the city to the Great Hall. As they are marched through the underground wonder, they find it a bustling metropolis full of life, but many wear mournful faces, and the party's not perceived as welcome to these faces. Those on the streets move aside for the armed guard that approach with the party in tow, without hesitation. From markets and stone-structured vendors to temples of the dwarven gods, the city seems very alive. The escort leads the party to a great and beautifully crafted hall.
We should open up Undermountain.
Oh yeah, go for it. With high sweeping architecture and massive green stone pillars.
Look at this picture that Jason found. Isn't it lovely?
Yeah, it was perfect.
Ah, it's beautiful.
It's like...
It was absolutely perfect, except we didn't have horses.
Right, and I'm not certain what this is from, but this is totally perfect.
Yeah, it was just something he found. But, I'll go to the next one.
So, they're led through rows of giant pillars past many
Eredor,
clearly waiting for the king. Some injured from battle, which piqued, like, many of the party's interest.
Like,
when they step into the, they were announced as the Kaz Eran Dadwed Room, which translates to the Hall of the Dwarf Lords. They see the king and his advisors sitting on a raised ruby platform with emerald steps overlooking the entire dark green stone hall with gold and silver highlights and accents. Many dwarves are gathered. Some are injured. Ragnar instantly recognizes the king as Garm Stellhand, the dwarf he met in Talamina so long ago.
Oh, you hadn't changed it because you still have the king.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. I was just checking. Keep going.
Ragnar also recognizes one of the dwarf lords to be Germ Halfbeard, another one of the dwarves he met in Talminas, and one who was at Racer that he was drinking with while the rest of the party flitted about the city in a hurry. Basically did the entire rest of the adventure that he spent drunk with Germ. Once Garm recognizes Ragnar, a warm smile envelops his face, and he lets out a hearty laugh. Ha ha, Ragnar! By Morden's beard! It took you long enough to get here, my old friend. Go for it.
So we didn't go to prison! Yay! The Garm apologized for, the rough treatment, and he tells us what has been happening in Undermountain.
So what's been happening is Drow and Orc have been besieging another city, Morduluk, which is a city...
It's lower down.
Lower down and further away from Herodor, but it's a dwarven city. And they don't know why, but it's been that way for months. And they learn of Lycan falling to an ancient demon. And that demon has been sending those people out to attack. They also learn that King Olm, Garm's father, died at the hands of the horrors of Lycan, which is why Garm is now newly king. Garm asks them to stay in the Kaz Eran Dadwadthrum as his guests. He wishes to discuss more with them after the day is through. Again, the party's pardoned and allowed the roam to city until they join the king for dinner.
And then we got to explore Herodor a little. I keep wanting to say Eridor because I'm studying Spanish right now. Herodor a bit more now. I think some of us looked at temples and there's different craftsmen, shops and things like that. And of course, we can see that the people are around and that they're hurt and
and the people.
But it's still very a busy, bustling city.
It's very busy, and the people still weren't like warm to outsiders.
Yeah.
So
they
it wasn't
they
like
weren't used to it.
Yeah.
At this point, they get a little bit more used to it later.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
Um,
But then it was dinner with us and the king and a scruffy-looking, inflated, ego-having kobold. That's literally what it said.
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yep. Garm asked the party, us, for a favor.
So they learned that each dwarven king must bargain with Baga, the dragon of the forge. But Garm's not trying to rush into this because he's got little experience with such things. So he must make the bargain this week, or Babaga will no longer light the forges or keep Herodor safe, so to speak. After they speak back and forth and they kind of, figure out
And talk about things.
Yeah,
and
talk about really what does this entail and what's kind of come in the past.
what's going to happen in the negotiations and things like that.
The party's willing to aid him in negotiating with Babaga. Garm also knows that without Babaga, the whole of Undermountain will not survive Makariath, who is the demon in Lycan's wrath. So they agree to help him, and arrangements are made with her kobold emissary to see her tomorrow.
Do you remember if the drinking contest happened then or when we came back through?
The what?
The drinking contest. Was it then or when we came back through? It was probably when we were celebrating.
I think it's when we came back through.
Yeah, okay. Just checking. I'll tell you something later in a minute.
So
Next morning, we go back to see Babaga.
Yep. Yeah, keep going.
And we see a large caravan of hundreds of injured dwarves, some dead, many missing limbs or worse, being led into the city from a higher, large gated hallway. Garm speaks low and mournfully.
The dead and injured come in daily to be put to rest or to be sent back out to the front lines of Morduluk, just to return again, dead from battle against Lycan.
Right,
and they continue to walk towards Babaga's cave.
And the kobold goes back over there to talk to her, and she lets us enter her lava pool room. And that she sees the new king, Stelhand, and a dangerous toothy grin washes over her. And she says,
Trumaz eren undrum no gak. You have decided to show your face. To what do I owe the pleasure? And Garm states boldly, I have come to honor the ancient traditions, Babaga. Drakna eren dakadrel. Let us renew our ancient pact. Well, when they speak this, any of them that can see magic, which Rasha was not one of those, but others could see some form of magic being used to create this pact. It was arcane in nature, but not due to a specific spell being cast. Something about the pact itself was magical. And they begin to negotiate.
do you...
I'll go from Babaga's point of view if you want to do the dwarf's point of view.
I mean, I think it just, like... what did they actually decide on? Do you have that written down somewhere?
Yeah, they agreed to each of actually they like totally agreed to each of these.
They did?
Yeah.
Even. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, this is actually what was agreed to.
They did agree to this?
Yes.
Even though all of these things.
Even though what?
They don't like this and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's still.
They did agree to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like they found a compromise.
Oh, I thought that this is what they were demanding, and then you didn't write what they actually decided on down.
No, because Staniak is awesome.
He's a smooth talker.
He is. He's an excellent diplomat. And because of that, he was able to negotiate both sides kind of getting what they want. Really.
Because they weren't actually conflicting demands?
Not necessarily, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that there are things that,
the specific demands, okay. Babaga's demands says the earth is sacred, what you reap from it will be sown. I don't know what that means.
So what it means is, if the dwarves take from the earth, then, when they find the end of a vein, they won't keep digging to try to find more. They'll move on to where she says. And they also have to help rebuild that vein, meaning some of what they gain in other places in Undermountain are buried with dwarves, become veins. She is looking at a long-term goal, and the dwarves are looking at short-term goals.
That makes sense.
And that's really where the differences came in their desires.
And Babaga says, I remain the sole light of the forge. Garm wasn't as excited about this because they can keep the forge lit without her, but her fires are the hottest and most pure, however, they did agree to this. And she says, my children will be protected by the dwarves so long as they do not bring harm to the dwarves. Garm didn't like that at first. He said that should be the dragon's duty. I'm not sure what she means by...
Duatno was here.
Yeah, that's what I was...
Yeah, he was here this one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think your cousin was. Honest, I don't...
He
might have been. I don't know. Anyways.
For this portion of it, he may have been.
I don't know what she means by my children.
Her other rust dragons.
Oh, just...
her eggs and stuff like that.
She has eggs?
I mean, yeah.
I didn't know she had eggs. Anyways, they agreed to that. And then the king of the dwarves demand was that, first one was that Babaga remains the guardian of Undermountain. Babaga wasn't excited about that because she says the dwarves should be able to protect themselves, which I think is hilarious because she literally just said that she wanted her children to be protected by the dwarves. It's kind of ridiculous, but she remains the guardian of Undermountain. Thankfully,
they worked that
out. The dwarves rule themselves free of Babaga's influence. She wasn't excited about that because they're in her home, and I'm sitting there like, how is she gonna say that they're not allowed to be free of her influence if she's not gonna protect them? That's what I was thinking in my head when I read this. But and they don't. She agreed to that.
They don't need to make sense. They, people have their own demands, and that's what I mean.
10% of the gold, silver, copper, and mithril mined in the mountain will be granted to Babaga as offering. She wanted 50%, but
that didn't work out that way.
50%. That's a
she
whole
wanted
lot.
To eat a lot more.
That's a whole lot.
And Staniak, being so good at what he does, made certain that 10% was the number she agreed to because he convinced her that over a great amount of time it would be more plentiful food as opposed to shorter veins. So with that concluded, the pact is sealed, and the dwarven king and Babaga have come to an arrangement. Babaga will light the forge, and the dwarves can continue on. So once finished, they return to the great hall where many dwarves gather, waiting for the king. The party hears of the devastation of Mortalluk and how their forces are keeping back the armies of Lycan, but Lycan's close to taking South Mortalluk. They're in desperate need of more aid to push Lycan out of Mortalluk. Garm asks his friend, Ragnar, if he and his allies can help by sneaking into Lycan and destroying Makariev. Garn tells them that no dwarves have been able to penetrate through to Lycan since they rose up to rebel. He believes if Makariev can be defeated, Lycan's forces attacking Mortaluk will retreat or surrender.
So then we agreed to help. We rested a couple days, got some supplies before heading to Mortaluk, which was a month of travel away. And so the king gave us a magical device that will get us into Mortaluk and has the Dwarf King's seal on it. And so then we travel for a month.
So the party leaves once they're ready to go.
Travel for a month.
Through cavernous wilderness.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's part of the description.
Yeah, it's traveling. It's just traveling.
That's how you tell a story.
Go ahead.
Some paths are obvious and worked by the dwarves. Others are more treacherous. Over bottomless, glittering canyons and underground rivers, rapids. In the journey, they pass small groups of dwarves, some soldiers, some families, fleeing Mortaluk, or returning to Herodor to resupply, or tend to the dead and wounded. As they draw closer to Mortaluk, the caverns become a darker granite stone and thicker. Small veins of various precious metals can be glimpsed in the month-long journey. About a week from their destination, the party is ambushed in a cave.
But we beat them.
By a small platoon of orc, goblin, and hobgoblins. Yeah, those
Easy.
They had no chance.
It's fine. Anyways. And we came across a dwarven camp that was outside the city, and there was dead dwarves and dead goblins and orcs, and it was we took care of the people that did that because they attacked us. And then we get to the doors of Mortaluk. A set of great stone doors stand before you with carvings and dwarven runes and reliefs of images of everyday dwarven life. On each side of the colossal doors stand two huge stone statues of dwarven warriors with axes and shields. So then we held up the device that the Dwarf King gave us, and these stone golems opened the doors and let us in instead of attacking us. Which, that's good.
Very good. When the gates to Mortaluk open, they lead to a bridge at the top of a cavern overlooking a great columned city of Mortaluk. If you can see in the screen, it looks. I found a great image. Again, I don't know who did the image, but I'm like, that's pretty close to what I'm imagining. That's great.
That's pretty neat.
Their dwarven guard marching across the bridge, a small group of 10. A few were injured, one missing an arm. The party can stop. They stopped and spoke with them, and those dwarves
they were
insisted.
heading to Herodor.
Yeah, they're headed to Herodor.
Like,
and
no, you go to the fortress.
Please. They said, go to Grimholt, the dwarven fortress at the top of the great spire further down this path. The party make their way to Grimholt. As they're getting closer, they
show the sigil. We're taken as Timble Goldfinger, Lord of Mortaluk. He's old.
And he resides in a private study.
He's looking at a picture of him and the king that died when they were younger.
He turns to the party and says, I am Thrun Timble Goldfinger, Lord of Mortaluk. I am very glad you have finally come. Told me that if he did not return, Moradin would shine upon Mortaluk in its darkest hour. It warms my belly to know he was not wrong.
What's Moradin?
Moradin is the dwarven god. He's the Forge Father.
Okay, cool. And then...
so he tells the party what's been happening here. Says that South Mortaluk fell a month ago, and the Lycan forces have forced
us to
stoop to their level. It all began as an effort to aid them. We never should have let them in. He takes a stiff drink from his cup. Fighting is street to street. Each skirmish for territory, each platoon that is lost. We had to do something. We have to do something. So they discuss with Timble for a while, and he kind of tells them...
He says, I know it's not your battle,
Yeah.
but I got something I gotta ask you to do.
I must ask you to do something for me. Something that will require you to not get caught by the enemy. I need you to get through the city unseen. Close the south doors of Morduluk. Then destroy them. There will be a large package to carry with you. Place it against the doors and press the red button. Then flee down the tunnels for Lycan and do not look back. Go until there is no light to guide you. May Morden help you from there.
So then we had to sneak around South Morduluk to get past the Lycan forces. There were secret glyphs that marked the safe paths. So we had to follow those to stay on the safe paths, and we had to avoid the enemies and avoid traps laid by the enemies or by the dwarves. So lots of traps. So we successfully navigated through the trapped and sieged city to the gates, where we fought off a small contingent of drow. And this next bit is hilarious to me for reasons. Through Treskin's skill, they figured out how to close the doors and set the bomb. Once done, the rest fled, and Treskin detonated it, blowing this section of the cavern and collapsing it in an extremely impressive explosion. And I'm like, of course it was Treskin.
Yeah, it was totally Treskin.
Of course.
This is where
Of course it was Treskin.
Later, yeah. He's like, oh, we found a thing. The dwarves have a thing. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind.
Treskin's like,
Dwarf
bomb.
bombs. Neat.
Yeah, so then we got out of Morduluk, and it was another month of travel through, and as the Undermountain turns into the Underdark.
As they go deeper and deeper into the
We're getting into the Drow area.
They had to make sure not to get lost from the tunnels successfully. Well, they got lost for a moment and found their way back.
The dwarven lanterns and glyphs to light and mark the paths, gone. Just darkness, stone, and water. Another week, mushrooms are found growing in the depths. Some of them glow. An eerie, pale purple, green, or blue glow emanates from the topography in areas as you traverse the caves. Occasionally, we walked through large caverns of various sized mushrooms, some of which turn on and off at the slightest touch.
Which they did for a moment play with.
Of
in
course.
One place they camped.
They're glow mushrooms, like, psh.
And it's also where they were ambushed once.
Yeah, some drow, but we took care of them.
They did. Psh. They did. It wasn't...
Did we leave any of them alive?
Yeah, actually you guys did.
Oh, yeah.
Because Treskin wanted to.
That makes sense. Yeah. And then, so they revealed that they were running away from the demons and the ones that joined them in Lycan. And did they warn us about the bridge, or no?
Yeah, they did. Because you guys made... Yeah.
Yep.
Yildris and the Bridge of Lycan.
Uh-huh. Bridge of Lycan is 240 feet across. The closed doors to the city. It's hardened spider silk. Use no light. Just walk forward. Do not waver. Do not make a sound.
So that's what the drow told them. And the drow also explained to them what happened in Lycan. That for some reason, this creature, who, I don't know, not even all of them knew was locked away there, just showed up, this demon, Makaria.
Surprise!
And summoned other demons and began enslaving them, even against Loth's will. Loth is crazy, so, whatever. But the Spider Queen still guards the city because Yildris is the giant spider. Gargantuan spider that guards the Bridge of Lycan, which is a silk bridge.
However, through being able to move carefully and quietly, me and being able to fly, etc., etc. We got across without issue. So,
when they arrive at
do we
Lycan,
get into Lycan?
the doors.
Okay, hold on. Where does it say? Ah, there. Yeah. Okay.
So, when they get to the bridge, they see that the doors of the city are open.
Yeah, not like wide open, right? They're kind of just like weirdly,
open.
just sort of kind of open. You're like,
So they make it across the
this
bridge
seems
and
strange.
make it in the city, and the doors close with an echoing boom behind them.
I'm like, good sign.
The putrid dim glow creates silhouettes of ephemeral stalactite towers hanging inside an unknowably deep canyon. It's difficult to see if you want to go to Lycan.
Yeah.
It was difficult to see what was directly before them and impossible to know the depth of the canyon at this first glance.
Just ignore this part up here.
Yeah, it becomes that later. It's actually called Lycan right now.
Its name's Lycan currently.
They can hear torturous screams echoing throughout parts of the stalactites, and the shadows seem to move as if they're alive. Violent chants and sounds of battle, death, sinew, and stone assaulted their senses, and they feel it, that cold dread, the call of the void. Come to me.
Guess who failed their madness check? It wasn't me.
No, it was a couple of you, I thought.
Well, no one actually that rolled failed, but Ryan fell asleep. So we said that he failed.
Oh, that's right. He fell asleep this time.
Yeah, Ryan Ryan, the player of Treskin, fell asleep. So we said, okay, he failed the madness check. So Stanyek, I think, teleported him, took Treskin back up to his airship, and left him there, and then just teleported back down because he had been there now, and he
With
could do that.
catatonia, yeah, and he could.
And
just do
Treskin
that.
was just kind of like,
He was so frightened by what he had heard and by what was going on that he went catatonic. And it nearly killed him.
foreshadowing.
But those who succeeded,
Remember that for later.
yeah,
Madness.
yes, madness is a theme here.
Anyways. But yes. So
They encounter some other beings.
we didn't find this, did we? Or did we?
No, you guys didn't find that.
Okay, I didn't think so. But yeah, so
They kind of roam around the city looking for where to go, and
but the weird thing, the very, very, very strange thing, it's most like we're hearing weird noises, we're kind of maybe feeling weird things in our mind, but mostly pushing them off. We sort of kind of see things, but we don't actually run into anybody. We don't see any drow, we don't see any, it's like,
they hear voices and
Perhaps.
see shadows move.
perhaps, especially considering that the door was left open, they were like, well, maybe they'll take care of this problem for us.
So they were basically, you guys were though led to Makariev.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
They eventually
But we
find
didn't
their
see
way.
any drow.
No, they didn't. That
And
was
we
the
were
thing.
like, this is weird. We're just going through this entire city. This is so
And
weird.
only shadows and terror. They eventually find their way before Makariev. The main spire, they travel down to its very end, and she's there in a large room, open throne room, carved out of a large stalactite overlooking the entire canyon at the crest of the tallest spire, or deepest spire, really. All around is defaced spider iconography.
They are drow.
Blood, body parts, disheveled belongings, and a railed side with an opening into the canyon on the opposite side of the defaced webbed throne. In the center of the room is a pit in the floor. Inside the pit is a festering wound of some sort, as if the stalactite itself had some kind of disease bubbling from within it.
It's like literally the earth itself has this gross, disgusting wound.
Makariath stood before the throne in darkness and attempted to seduce and corrupt each and every one of them, even offering the power to overcome the Illithid.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention the Illithid that much, did we?
No, but this outsider knew.
Weird.
They did not take her offerings, and inevitably combat ensued, as I believe there was some sort of insult thrown by Ragnar, and
Probably.
it just kind of went from there.
However, none of us got to do anything. Well, at first we kind of couldn't touch her, and then none of us got to do anything. And
Because
Ragnar dodged all these like blows that probably would have been like instant death, because she has 6 arms, which each were holding a Vorpal sword.
a Vorpal adamantine sword.
A Vorpal sword! It's like
So
a +5.
Yeah, +5 Vorpal swords, so any of them, they're going to get hit, and if it was a 20, they're all losing their heads. So this is really one of the first and few times that serious death was on the line in Naboria. Like, this was a bad fight, and they knew it going into it. They had to face this demon. They kind of Garm kind of gave them an idea of what was going on. You know, his father died. Like, they see the effects of what's going on. But like Ragnar and his awesomeness,
Ragnar,
1v1 this demon.
he called upon his god, Odin,
Yes.
and doesn't he have a Vorpal weapon?
No.
He didn't at that point?
Oh yeah, he did. He had Tearfang at that
His
point in time.
sword, Tearfang, which is like this, it's a
It's a legendary.
that's what I thought. It's a legendary weapon. And what, rolled a 20?
He rolled a 20.
He rolled a 20.
She rolled 19s on him, and like
It was
it was close. It was really
It
close.
was really close.
But
So-
he rolled a 20, and
He takes his sword, calls upon Odin,
after he pops her head off.
or I think it's more sort of like he does it as he's...
No, it was after he,
Oh, whatever.
because knowing that
He
didn't
pops
necessarily kill the
her-
demon. She's
cuts
a
her head
Makariath,
off.
or a Merilith.
Calls upon Odin to take the demon, and what do we see?
So what they saw was from what they see after that, as Ragnar makes his plea to his god and he spends destiny points.
Which is a
Is-
cool thing that Jason has in his game.
Odin's spear just like through Ragnar and puts her into the ground, and then they hear the hooves of Sleipnir, Odin's horse, as she is then just a single hand grabs onto the spear, and she is dragged back into the plains by Odin, and it's really his to deal with at that point in time.
So we didn't have to try and bind or banish her, which I don't think we could have.
No, it was a good way to do it.
Yeah. So, thankfully, we had Ragnar with us, because holy cow. And then, we had 6 Vorpal swords, so we each got one.
It did.
I carried around a +5 Vorpal sword for a long time. And you'll find out later what I did with it.
Yeah, it was very cool.
It worked out really well, but that's later. But yes, so each of us got one of the Vorpal swords. The cyst was there, but we defeated Makariath. Even though we defeated her, it's not like the effects are instant. Lycan is still a dangerous place. Every good member of the party, which is most... was it all of us
at that point in time, all of you.
At that point, it was all of us. Didn't like being there. Just,
Except Alexander.
I thought he was at that point.
No, he wasn't good. He's never been good.
Never good.
But
Neutral. Anyways,
but at the same time, he still didn't like.
he
being
still
there either.
understands. Yeah, it just feels corrupted. It feels bad. So we return to Eredor. The good thing about this is that now we can teleport back.
Yeah, they've been there once, and Stanek can just be like, "Let's go, let's get the heck out of here." So they head back to Herodor.
Yep. Go ahead.
And that's where they meet with King Stelhand, Garm, Ragnar's friend. They tell the story. They spend a night. Part of the king
we
is
had
like,
a
we shall
party.
throw a feast.
I did a great thing. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is very funny. So we're there having a party, and Rasha's kind of chilling. She's this. I mean, she's taller than a dwarf, sure, but she's this like small woman, right? Alexander is like, "Hey, Rasha. Hey, Rasha.
Oh yeah.
You know what I think would be funny? He's like, take this. And he hands her a ring. Take this ring.
I thought it was an eagle stone.
No, it's a ring.
Okay.
I think.
It's a stone. It's fine.
Of the against.
Yeah, it's a stone.
Was it a stone?
Yeah.
An ion stone. Anyways, they're invisible rocks that float around your head. They're not always invisible, but his was invisible. They're rocks that float around your head and do things. He's like, take this, and he takes it away from his head and pops it so it's floating around my head. I'm like, oh, that's strange. He's like, you should have a drinking contest with some of these dwarves.
This is also how the party ends up with a bunch of dwarven fire ale.
So, this ion stone is what is resist poison.
Mm-hmm.
Which, alcohol is poison. So this little, like, wafy, I mean, she's not wafy, but she's short for a human and doesn't weigh much. Challenges some dwarves to a drinking contest. And beats them handedly.
Yeah. Which they were surprised, but
They were very
they paid
surprised, but they paid up. And Rasha is like, okay, here you go. Here's the winnings. I mean, because he had, like, given
Totally.
up the ingot for her, and he's like, oh, no, it's fine.
Totally.
I don't need it. And Rasha's like, I mean, okay. Gives him his stone back, It was great.
And like
hilarious.
And like Ragnar and Treskin, Staniak, and Alexander remain to set up trade and alliances with Undermountain. As well through this, Alexander snuck off to meet with Babaga again. And in that time,
got a new lease on life.
he did. He found a being that he respected and liked, and he became her champion.
Was he the first?
He was, I believe, the first one to be a champion of one of the firstborn dragons.
Which that's so big. It's so big.
He had a scar from her. He cut him open and gave him the ability to regenerate and many other things, and their destinies intertwined. He was their first champion. He also gained access to Dwarven Fire Ale for his stores. So,
and Ragnar has a lot of that all the time.
Yeah, because it's like
he also set up trade and
right between Veljar and Caranthus. There's trade, and through that to Erwin with the dwarves, which is something the parties wanted to do for a long time.
There's Eredor.
And Caranthus is, you can see where Caranthus is.
Obviously, Caranthus it's right here. Veljar's up here.
So Bellara was the hub, and Staniak set that up, that Herodor would come bring their wares there, and Bellara would then trade out to the other places via airship. Yeah. And
the king also gave us, that may be part of where I ended up with so much money. I still think people randomly gave me money.
No, they do.
Later,
They do just.
But also the king gave us
and
money.
She just kept randomly giving you money.
Rasha always ended up with way more money than she ever needed.
Yeah, because they're just like, here, have some.
And so I'm just sitting there with hundreds, 100,000 gold in my bag of holding, and just like.
Yep.
She doesn't really care about.
But that was later.
Yeah, I was like, anyways, so. Rasha stayed there with her friends until it was time to leave for Cortanegro.
Where High Father Salazar
he opened El Mirgo
to foreigners at this week-long celebration that he called Destino, or Destiny, right? They were all invited to it. It was not only the people here, but
a lot of the
Duwadna,
heroes
Gravin,
in the game in general.
Many people were also dignitaries for their nations. Nabias, Caranthus, Erwin, a lot of the surrounding Veljar. Ragnar was invited as he was a jarl in Veljar at this point in time, not quite yet the jarl of jarls.
Not quite.
And they went to this party.
There's a big party in a city
where he summoned a keep from nowhere, or like that cathedral. He summoned that cathedral from nowhere as like a miracle of the one true God, or of the All Father. Yeah, and they all kind of tour around his place, and Rasha, knowing that the Illithid were coming and knowing that she should go back and say something to her people, you met a Rumadani trader there.
Mm-hmm.
Who was like, "Oh, I can take you back to Riyadh. I'm headed there after this.
Mm-hmm.
I came to trade through this. I was invited here as well. I came here to trade."
So she got on her ship. And Treskin and Stanyek made some magical and engineering wonders for the High Father.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, experienced the city. Alexander later...
No, Alexander didn't actually go to this.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Alexander goes back to Nabiez for the 2-week spring Bestine feast and to tell Duwadna about Babaga, because isn't she a druid?
Yeah.
She a druid. And he's officially leaving the Nabiez Dragon Riders, because he was that before. That's why he had a dragon.
Mm-hmm. And so he's leaving them to... He's found a higher purpose, and he wanted to make sure to tell his friends, and some not friends, that he was no longer...
I ain't having none of this no more.
Yep. And that's pretty much where this one ended. Rasha's on her way back to Ramadan.
Where was the party? Is in...
boom! Corte Negro.
Corte Negro. Right here?
Yep.
And so this is funny. So, Rasha is going back with a Rumadani trade ship to get back to Rumadan. And so, to do that, as you can see, Rumadan is down here. She wants to get back to Riyadh, right? So, to get from Corte Negro, you have to go through the Blood Sea and the Pirate Isles. And so, they're on their way back. They're in the Blood Sea, and a ship comes up. A pirate ship comes up to attack them.
This is good.
A pirate ship comes up to attack them. I'm just going to stick you in my pocket now. Thanks, Mom! And Rasha's like, she's like, I'm on the ship. I'm going to defend it. So she jumps up like on the railing. She's got her 2 swords out. She's ready to fight. She looks across at the other ship, and that they've got some ropes out already, to attack the merchant ship. And she looks out and she sees Nanashi. And Nanashi sees her, and he's like, He nods, slashes the ropes, and he's like, nope. Sail off, respect. Nope, not
this
doing it.
ship's good.
Nope, it's fine.
Yep.
He's like, no, I know that one. She's cool. We're good.
So that Rumadani merchant
got real lucky.
And the legend of the Desert Wind begins.
Oops. Kind of really begins later, but maybe.
No, that's really...
Is that really kind of... Did it? I didn't even know.
Your name is Rasha.
Rasha Sharav. Yes.
The trader knew that.
Yes.
This is the first place where stories started. The Desert Wind is with my ship. And pirates just leave me be.
Oh, it's smooth sailing.
At its presence. Exactly.
But yeah, so she made her way back to Riyadh, and
I think that's where this one ended.
Where this ended.
Yeah. We're in their destinations, going in their places, and then we didn't play for a little while. Or we played small little sessions.
Yeah, I saw a couple, you had some little things with some people. Yeah, anyways. Yeah. Life happens.
Right.
Not everybody can play D&D
all the time.
All the time. I mean, and when you've been going at this point, this is 2019, so you've been doing the campaign for 13 years.
It's sort of hey, when can everybody get together?
And if it's once every couple months or 3 months, it happens, And also with the way that Jason runs games, sometimes, he could have because this is a whole entire world, and so their characters are in different places in the world. So even if we get everyone together for a weekend, not everyone is necessarily playing at the same time. no one is upset about that, right?
Yeah, because
we're all friends and we like hanging out, right?
Right, and so I try to offer everyone NPCs. Like, okay, in this scenario, there are these different NPCs you could potentially play. And it wasn't necessarily like, sometimes it was here's a character sheet. Other times it was here's the motivation, here's what they're trying to do, and like, you know, bring your flair to it, bring your style. Who wants to play what? And people would sort of like pick different ones that they liked in the scenario, and then everybody roleplay through it. And that's really what it was about. And that's what happened. Like, you know, I may have given them like some direction on, like I said, motivation and goals or ambitions for those NPCs, but what ended up coming about from it happened through the role playing, and then I would record that and move forward.
Yeah, but that also means that
I made the word
sometimes there were,
too.
you know, a couple people that had a story together that weren't necessarily going to be able to come or whatever, and Jason could do maybe just a smaller evening with them to run through some story and some experiences for them. I mean, like, Jason and I have just sat down together and the two of us run through things with Rasha because Rasha
did a lot on her own.
Did a whole lot on her own. We'll get to that. We'll get
where
to
this
that.
starts almost.
Yeah, it is base exactly almost. Well.
I think just pretty close. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool stuff happens next time.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
I mean,
You know, still, it's nice to hear.
You should. I love this character so much. Are you kidding? You know how many times I've cried? I've cried so many times.
I mean, you got art made for it, so yeah, I guess.
Yes, I got art, but I will show you the art next time.
Eventually,
actually, because
it makes sense. Yep.
It makes sense to show you the art that I have for Rasha next time. Oh, this piece of art, not the other piece of art. I'll show the other piece of art later, which I haven't actually shown Ryan that yet.
Nice.
I forgot.
Oh yeah, the second one. Cool, very cool. Yeah, because that happens later too.
That's much later. Yeah. Anyways. Yep. Anyways, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you guys. That's it. For this week.
Yeah. Back next week, probably 4:30 on Tuesday Eastern, and I will be streaming Thursday at should be 5 p.m. for crafty time, more sewing and chill hanging out times. I need.
If we can do some more Among Us, that'd be really cool.
Yes, I want to play more Among Us. I want to do some Jackbox because you don't have to have 10 people.
Yeah, totally.
Also, you can't have 10 people.
Yeah.
I think most is usually like 8. But I like playing the games with the friends, and I hadn't actually been doing any of that, like, this whole pandemic. But now I kind of have, and I was like, oh, I like this. This is nice.
It's very nice.
It's nice.
It's a way to still sort of spend time with your friends. It's really cool.
But yeah.
We lived in a very remarkable time.
Yep. Anyways, thanks for coming. I'm Avital. That's my husband, Jason.
Hello.
And Game Master.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you next time.